So Sunrise Beach, it's a small municipality, small city, small village, if you will, and a lot of things going on recently. Looks like, if you're not familiar with the Sunrise Beach City Hall, it sits in this little house, next to the Attorney Building, and then there's a Sunrise Beach Fire Department right there, right across from Hurricane Deck School.
Right.
Real small little house. And so they need, at some point in time, a bigger building, a better building where they can hold court for civil tickets, things of that nature, pay your water bill. But apparently they have looked at buying a building, and it appears to be the old Summit Natural Gas building. And so I don't have a lot of information, but I have been bombarded with people reaching out and saying, Will, you need to look into this. And luckily we've had some locals that have been very diligent. They've sunshine the city of Sunrise Beach, and some concerns that I've seen put together here in my notes was that about 7 months into looking for a building, they settled on that building. Now, Debbie Stoller, she's the chairman for the Board of Trustees, which is like the Board of Aldermen, in a small municipality, that she asked Virginia Kervin, another trustee, and realtor Fran Campbell to assist Jenny Nelson in looking and developing and contracting of the 7 acres they settled on. So in January of 23, the trustees had a meeting to do a walkthrough of the building. And the next morning, they wanted to look at another vacant structure that had been there for a while. So the moral of the story is it looked to happen super, super fast, and a lot of citizens are very concerned. They say, listen, not only do we want to know about you using taxpayer money to put the city in a position like this, I mean, $645,000 is what the building was listed at with a $90,000 roof allowance. And their offer was for the full $645,000. And when the concerns started coming in, all of a sudden, there was rumors that another offer's coming in, we have to push this through. And so I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I think one of the concerns, Stephanie Crable put together a list as well, is that there could be something to gain on this. What she said is there's a 3% commission going to the real estate team for selling and for buying, whoever represents which entity, and that if someone sitting on the board has a commission to gain, potentially, that's unethical or a conflict of interest. So that's the first issue that has raised some concerns by these citizens. The second one was the current state of the financial department of the city of Sunrise Beach. We're struggling to get enough deputies. We only have 3 total deputies, our police chief, 2 deputies, and then we have a 3rd deputy that works 1 weekend a month. And that's how many people we have in the Sunrise Beach Police Department. As a matter of fact, they had to have a fundraiser recently to raise $3,500 just to upgrade equipment. So there's pressing issues financially for the city.
It wouldn't seem like they could afford that if they're having to do fundraisers for $3,500.
And we'll take it a step further than that. My understanding is, I did not confirm this, but that building they're currently in, they still owe almost $50,000 in. So if they leave there, do they carry that note? It's an interesting way that it's set up because at the village of Sunrise Beach, there's actually 2 different boards. If you're voted, and listen, I'm just learning all this. I'm going to dig more into this, give you guys better, more thorough information. But if you're elected as a trustee of the city of Sunrise Beach, you automatically get put on a separate entity, which is a nonprofit, which acts on behalf of the city to do a lot of the financial dealings. And so really, that committee or nonprofit actually owns the note for the Sunrise Beach City Hall currently, and that is who would take that on. It's very confusing. But if you look at a mortgage calculator, it looks like at $645,000 with no down payment, if you figure in interest rate, if they can get a 40-year note, you're looking at $1.2 million with a monthly payment of about $3,400. And based on the city's current operating budget, Chris, you're looking at an expense ratio of 74%. That's a dangerous place to put a city that is small, struggling to have enough deputies, and looking to find a way to grow, gain more resources, rushing through for the purchasing of a $645,000 building that's probably going to need about $300,000 in renovations and remodels. When you're in financial need now, I can understand the concerned citizens. And so we here at Lake TV don't know a lot. We know that April 4th, there's a big election. The Sunrise Beach Board of Trustees, their chairman, all of those things will be decided. There's some names on the that have thrown their name in the cap for that. I'm sitting down with local people in Sunrise Beach. I'm going to be asking questions to Jenny Nelson. I'm going to be asking questions to Debbie Stoller and everyone with the city to try to find out what exactly is happening. But something's happening, and I saw enough that I sat down with a couple of people, a couple citizens from Sunrise Beach, and they helped show me some of this. And I do believe at this point in time there is concern, and we need to look into it because, Chris, City of Sunrise Beach currently doesn't have board meeting minute notes listed on their website. The sunshine law and request that was put in by a citizen cost $420, which that's law. And so the city and some volunteers and some people that wanted to help the lady out, they donated that money. And now the city is trying to get all of these documents put together. But to me, as much as we need those documents, there's so limited man hour in the city hall for Sunrise Beach. The fact that someone is now going to be spending hours to gather that stuff is also not a good thing. And so when we get that information, I'm sure it will tell a lot. But it's sad because it is a small area, and a lot of times you have to find somebody to run for a certain position for one of those seats. And sometimes they win with as few as 4, 5, and 6 votes.
It's crazy.
Within the village of Sunrise Beach, there's literally like 108 registered voters.
Yeah.
You know, I sit here as almost a full percentage of the registered voting population in Sunrise Beach. And so that's crazy. And so those 108, we need to know what's going on. And so these concerned citizens have done a good job of shedding some light. And hopefully we'll be able to get to the bottom of this and see, does there need to be change prior to the April 4th election? Or does it just mean some of us need to help out, help the people currently in office understand? Because like I said, Chris, a lot of times these people are not politicians. They don't have this knowledge. They don't have this experience. But they're asked to run for something or do something because no one else will. And if that's the case here, I say the community gets behind them, helps them out. Let's get them up to speed. But certainly, if somebody is in there for self-gain, I think it'll be figured out, and I think that the voters will speak.
Well, it kind of seems very dangerous, though, right? If they're looking at buying a building, $600,000 and, you know, $1 million with the loan and all that stuff, if they can't afford what they have right now, what makes them think they're going to be able to afford that, right? I mean, that seems to be problematic.
It's a great question, and I think that's the question that a lot of the concerned citizens are having is like, hey, anytime we make a decision of this magnitude, you know, it affects us greatly because we're the ones, our tax dollars, we're the ones that are going to be on the hook for this a year from now, 5 years, 10 years from now. And I think there's that concern of lack of transparency. Why were we not told about this? Why was the community not called in for a public meeting, for a public hearing, for an open forum, whatever it would be? And I think the citizens feel slighted. I think they feel like, hey, Sunrise Beach, you need to put this information up. We shouldn't have to sunshine. This is stuff that should be there. So just wild. We're going to continue to follow this, see what we can't figure out, because at the end of the day, it's not about throwing anybody under the bus, making anybody look bad. It's about doing what's best for the city for this year and for years to come, as well as the people that live within those city limits.
Does Sunrise Beach have a mayor or anything like that right now?
Essentially, the chairman of the board of trustees, Debbie Stoller, she is essentially the mayor.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, a municipality that small, you don't have a mayor. The chairman of your board of trustees acts or serves as the mayor.
So this Debbie Stoller is in control of things right now.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, yes. And when you're small, you rely on a lot of help from other people,
Right.
and sometimes you may not rely in the right places. But you know, I'm not willing to say who's wrong or right here. I think it's right. There are concerns, and so for us, we go to the drawing board. We start asking questions and looking into things, and hopefully we can get a better understanding.
Has that building been purchased already? Is that a done deal?
It's not closed on, from my understanding. There was an offer put in, and it was a rushed offer because there was apparently, after sitting vacant for years and years, there was other offers coming in,
Right.
which we know a lot of times in the real estate market, there's gimmicks, there's gadgets, there's ways to...
Yeah, it could be sketchy, yeah.
Correct. And so definitely concerns, and we will continue to seek answers on your guys' behalf and, of course, on the Sunrise Beach citizens.